In this video, I'm gonna be making an NLE Choppa type beat in GarageBand iOS. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. A lot of NLE Choppa type beats have piano in them. So let's just grab a preset called the grand piano and let's come up with a melody. I've set the tempo to 125 BPM to give it that slow groove that NLE Choppa would lyrically go well on top of. So let's get into making the rhythm for the notes. If you listen to his songs, you'll notice that a lot of his beats have this triplet note effect. So a lot of 3 notes being played together in part of a group. So let's try to incorporate that into this beat but not directly replicate it. Something like this. Let's have the triplet note over here. I want another triplet over here just to give it some rhythm. I want some syncopation towards the end of the bar as well, just to make it a little bit more interesting. One on the downbeat and then have a little bit of syncopation. So this is a 2-bar pattern for the moment. I also pitched it down quite a bit to give it that deeper sense. So the chord would be A, C, and E. So let's try to put those notes into the rhythm now. But if you want something to be pretty catchy, then you want notes that are close together. So in this section, and a way to get catchy melodies is to use half steps. So basically the half step in the E minor scale would be B and C, E and F, so all the white notes. Let's use half step over here. So let's use these 2 notes which are close together. This is the A minor chord. So we'll basically do the same thing for this and make something out of the chords. This is the melody I've got at the moment, but if you're making an NLE Choppa type beat, you want the melody to be pretty bare so that the 808s can stand out in the mix, but we'll get to that in a bit. Actually, I have an idea because quite a lot of instruments are crammed into this area, so I'm gonna take out the first note to make it sound like this. A little drop. So I'm gonna do that with all the other instruments now. I'll show you what I mean when I get to the next instrument. So let's do that now. I'm gonna grab another instrument. Let's grab a flute. I wanna add this flute as a counter melody, but I'm gonna show you a trick that's gonna make your flute sound 10 times better. But first, let me just lay down the A minor chord going down. Let's start off with the same notes for the second bar, but with a slightly different pattern. I wanna lift this up an octave. So going back down in the scale, so that would be E and A. So the trick I'm gonna tell you is to use 3 notes, increase them by a little bit, just unquantize them, drag them out a bit, put them together again. Just a little triplet effect, but I'll show you what I can do. I'm gonna drag this out over here, make a little semitone roll over here. So I just put it down to B, E flat, and coming down to B, so it sounds like this now. It gives the flute a completely different vibe, so I'm gonna do that over here. But this time I want it to go up. So I'm gonna use the E minor scale and go up. I like that so far. I just want to reduce the velocity of this note a little bit. And then copy that into the next section. Remember how we took out the first note of the 3rd bar for the piano melody? I'm gonna do the same thing for the flute now. I'm gonna take out the first part and start off with this triplet. So that sounds pretty interesting, right? But I'm gonna do something even more interesting with the hi-hats in a bit. But first, let's just add a snare. I don't want any clap, I just want a snare to be really punchy in the mix. Let's take a Southside Choppa snare, put it every 3 counts. I'm just gonna copy this melody into the next section. So it'll sound like this now along with the snare. The snare has quite a punchy presence to it. Now I'm gonna add the first hi-hat pattern. Yes, for this I'm gonna add 2 hi-hats patterns. So the first one's gonna be really simple. For this you can just try to put it in places that work. So I'm just gonna listen out for where the hi-hat should be played. And then have a little bit of syncopation towards the end just to make it a little bit more interesting. So it goes along with the piano. I'm gonna increase this to a roll over here. And then just play one more note, the downbeat. So it sounds like this now, the simple hi-hat pattern. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some 16th notes hi-hat rolls in there. So just something to complement the slow pace of the beat right now. It's gonna be really fast, but I think it's gonna be nice complemented by the simplicity of the beat right now. But for this one, I don't want it to be mono. I'm gonna put some tremolo on it, just to make it a little bit in stereo so that it's not playing in just one ear. So that it alternates between the ears when it plays. So I'll show you what I mean. So since it's a 16th note, I'm gonna put in 16th, put the depth to about 75, and see what it sounds like now. So it's playing one in each ear. But if you remember again, we don't want the first part of the hats playing for the third bar. I'm gonna take these first 3 out. I'm just gonna add 1 or 2 rolls in just to make it a little bit more interesting, and then we'll copy it into the next section. So I'm not just gonna copy it into the next section, I just put some simple 16th and triplet notes in there. What I'm gonna decide to do is put some more effects on this piano to give it an even deeper and darker feel. So basically I just copied the piano melody and pushed it down an octave, so it sounds like this now. And now without any effects. Sounds very plain and boring. The 808 pattern is extremely important when you're making an NLE Choppa type beat. So I'm just gonna grab the Z808 because it has a small tail and it hits very hard. Now let's lay down the pattern. I don't want it to be too complicated because we want each instrument to have its own place in the mix. Let's raise it up an octave before the second drop, just to add a little bit of suspension before the drop hits. A little 808 bounce over here. Just 2 808s playing to finish off the bar. Now I'm gonna reduce it down an octave. The 808s are a little high, but I think it's gonna be fine when the whole mix comes out. You need the beat to be pretty bare while making an NLE Choppa type beat because he wants to flow all over this. To complement this, I'm gonna put a kick pattern, but I'm gonna make the kick pattern a little more complicated just so that I can fill in the blank spaces. So yeah, pretty complicated kick pattern, but that's just to complement the simplicity of the other instruments. Okay, the beat's almost done now. The last thing I'm gonna do is add an open hat just to finish off the beat, but I want the open hat to play only once 8 bars. Let me just grab an open hat. Let me grab open hat 4. It has a little triangle with it as well. I'm gonna put it over here just to finish off before the drop. Now I'm actually gonna put it twice over here as well because the beat's just too simple right now. Actually, I'm gonna put one last rim shot in just to finish off the beat. Just to put it over here because there doesn't seem to be much playing here. Yeah. So I'm just gonna arrange it into the intro, the hook, and just the start of the verse. I'm gonna continue with the piano, and then I'm gonna bring the fast open hats in for the second part of the hook. So this is basically it. Leave a like down below and comment down what your favorite NLE Choppa song is. It does help the video. So this is basically it. This is the final product. Enjoy.